Bob Marley's funeral in 1981 was a global event. Fans, dignitaries and musicians gathered to honor the King of Reggae. But two of his closest collaborators, Bunny Wailer and Peter Tosh, were missing. Why? Because for Bunny Wailer, Bob Marley's funeral was not something he could be a part of. Bunny Wailer, born Neville Livingston, was an original member of the Wailers and one of Marley's childhood friends. Together with Peter Tosh, they helped shape reggae music as we know it. But as their fame grew, so did their differences. Bunny Wailer's path was deeply spiritual. While Marley became the face of reggae worldwide, Bunny withdrew from the spotlight. He believed in roots reggae, music untouched by corporate interests, untainted by Western influence. When Bob signed with Island Records and took reggae global, Bunny Wailer saw it as a departure from what the Wailers originally stood for. When Bob was diagnosed with cancer, some in the Rastafarian community saw it not just as a tragedy, but as a lesson. Bunny Wailer reportedly believed that Bob's illness was the result of the wages of sin, a consequence of his lifestyle choices, his compromises with Babylon, and his departure from the pure spiritual path. But it wasn't just about ideology. It was also about faith. Rastafarians traditionally reject funerals. Death in their beliefs is not an end, but a transition. To Bunny Wailer, Bob wasn't dead. He had simply moved on. Attending a funeral, mourning in a Western way, was something Bunny Wailer could not do. To him, honoring Bob meant keeping his spirit alive through the music, not standing over his casket. Bunny Wailer continued his own journey, dedicated to the purity of reggae and Rasta philosophy. While Bob's legacy became a worldwide phenomenon, Bunny remained committed to the original message of the Wailers, one rooted in spiritual discipline and African liberation. To him, the music was more important than the spectacle. He didn't need a funeral to remember Bob Marley. He didn't need a grand ceremony to honor his friend, because in his eyes, Bob Marley had never truly died. His spirit lived on in the vibrations of reggae, in the teachings of Rastafari, and in the fight against Babylon's system. Bunny Wailer's decision not to attend wasn't about disrespect. It was about principle. And for the man who once stood beside Bob Marley and Peter Tosh, that principle was everything.